everyone, and welcome back to the channel for a brand new Q&A video. In case you're new to these, all the questions come from members from the Patreon team, and if you want to get in on that, you can see right at the bottom of the screen right now, that's a link to the Patreon campaign, so go check it out. You could submit questions for the Q&As, but also there are so many other awards over there that hopefully you like and you want to participate in. Right now, though, we got to get to these questions. I've got a whole bunch of great ones right here. And the first one we're going to hit today is from Steven, who writes, since you are so knowledgeable in the movie critic game, will you ever write a book or make a video on how to be a true critic? There are a ton of people out there claiming to be movie critics, but I only really trust you and peeps at Collider. Thanks. Also, we need P-Nemi shirts. Yes, Steven, I know we need the shirts. I'm still exploring options out there. I haven't really found the right one, but again, I'll throw it out to you guys. If you know a good way to make these t-shirts happen, put it in the comments section below. I will check it out. As for the question here, I do really appreciate the sentiment, Stephen, but I think if you find a book out there that is written by someone claiming to be a true critic, maybe you should take a pass on that book, because I don't think there is a set way to critique movies, or at least that's how I approach it. I've said it before. I think critiquing movies isn't necessarily a science or a math. It is kind of an art form, and it's also deeply personal. So I don't think there is one exact way to go about it. I think one of the pillars that I always look for in a critic out there that I am watching or reading is just honesty. Honesty, putting their personal feelings, deeply caring about the stuff that they're covering. And to be completely frank with you guys, I deeply care about the quality and the integrity of every single review I do, which leads to, my feelings getting hurt a little bit when I see comments that suggest that my reviews were bought, or even my first reaction tweets for that matter. I mean, one that just doesn't happen, and if that ever did happen, that would completely devalue every single review I do, and I would never sacrifice that for anything. So I don't know how many times I could say it before it really sinks in. I know some of you out there know it, but you will never get a first reaction tweet, a full written review, or a video review from me that does anything but reflect how I honestly react to that movie. So just wanted to put that out there again, because I do think it's well worth it. Moving on to the next question. Now, this is from Evan, and Evan wants to know, what have been your proudest accomplishments so far this year? Evan always knows the right time to ask particular questions, because I do think it's very important for me to sit and think about something like this when right on the horizon now is one of the biggest challenges I'm going to face all year, which of course is running a marathon. And similarly, I would say, even though I haven't done the actual marathon yet, I have completed 99% of the training, and that right there is one of the biggest accomplishments. It just requires so much discipline. And also, to be completely honest with you guys, the last 2 months of the training have been utterly exhausting, where it's not just the run itself that takes a lot out of me. I find myself to be a little more tired than usual in between runs. So sticking to the training and powering through it, big accomplishment. Also on my list is that Cobra Kai panel I moderated at San Diego Comic-Con this year. Moderating a San Diego Comic-Con panel in particular has always been a major dream of mine. So the fact that I got to do it, and the fact that it went really well, and the fact that I got to celebrate that accomplishment with my Collider colleagues, and I mean, they were so supportive. That whole scenario just meant the world to me. And the last thing I have to throw out there is obviously becoming an aunt. I mean, this is going to be a whole bunch of gibberish here, because I don't know how to articulate just how proud I am of my sister for going through all of that. And since having Robbie, just being the most wonderful mother, and just what it makes me feel to look at Robbie's face. She's at this point where she's just so expressive and she's smiling, and I can't get enough of it. I love her so much, and I can't wait to continue just celebrating her existence and every single thing she wants to do and all of her accomplishments. It's really such a special thing, and I'm so proud of my little niece, Robbie. Question number 3 now is from Luke, who wants to know, other than Stephen King adaptations, what trends do you see in horror for 2020? There are many of them that I'm looking for right now. I do think it's not just an it thing. I think clowns are very hot right now. And I had just been rewatching Killer Clowns from Outer Space. That's a particular movie that I think is ripe for a remake right now. So I've got clowns on my list. Also retcons. I think we're going to wind up seeing more, I guess I would say, slasher movie retcons in particular. They had great success with Halloween. I also do think the retcon approach worked very well for the Terminator franchise, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see more franchises make a return in that particular fashion. Other than that, I would say watch out for the company Neon. One, they have a movie called The Lodge, which I have spoken about before. I absolutely love it. I've seen it twice now, and I can't wait to see it again. But that is an excellent movie. But Neon in particular is delivering quality content across the board in every single genre. So for horror, you have The Lodge to look forward to next year. But if you haven't seen some of their releases this year, you also have Wild Rose was just phenomenal, Loose as well, and then if you want to stick within genre, they're also the distributor behind Little Monsters too. So whenever Neon attaches itself to a particular project, now that automatically creates more urgency for me to check their movies out because they're picking some good stuff. Also, I would keep an eye out for a Conjuring franchise pivot in a sense. We are getting that third Conjuring movie in the main series this year, and I think once that comes and goes, I do find that the higher-ups at Warner Brothers and New Line might try to reassess the lay of the land in the Conjuring franchise and figure out what paths to pursue, whether it's more Nun and Annabelle movies, more spin-offs, or maybe to continue the main Conjuring series in a different way. I mean, you do have an extreme talent in McKenna Grace playing the Warrens' daughter, so I wouldn't mind seeing her in particular continue on with the franchise. So I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with that moving forward in 2020. Next up now on the list is a question from Billy, and Billy wants to know, if you had the chance to cameo in any TV show, past or present, what would it be? So, kicking it off with the past, one of my favorite TV shows growing up that had tons of cameos, seriously, go on IMDb and just go down the list of really famous faces now that cameoed on ER back in the day, early in their career. ER was just such an important show to me because that was one of the major shows that my whole family watched together. We all always got together on Thursday nights, sat in front of the TV and watched the new episode live. And we watched that show for so many years of my life because it went on for so many seasons. So that would be on my list. Also, I have to put one of my favorite recent shows on the list. It's Ash vs. Evil Dead. I just love the colorful world and those characters, and to be able to cameo on a show like that and play around with characters like Pablo, Kelly, and Ash, it just sounds like a blast to me. And another one that sounds like it could be a lot of fun is a cameo on Glow. You guys know how much I love athletics, and similar to my comment about Ash vs. Evil Dead, Glow is just such a rich, colorful world with so many fantastic characters that I would love to play off of, but also the athleticism of what they're doing on that show really appeals to me as well. So putting Glow on the list too. Next up, oh no, this is our last question. This one is from Ian, and Ian is asking, what have been some of your favorite audiobooks performance-wise? I seem to have found myself with a surplus of Audible credits, and I'm looking for some good books to listen to, open to all genres. All right, Ian, you know I listen to a lot of audiobooks. I am very happy you asked this question, but because you put in performance-wise, I'm going to start out with The Goldfinch. So just to recap a little bit, what I did with The Goldfinch is I started to listen to it before TIFF because I knew I was going to have to see the movie and do some interviews, and I like to be as well informed as possible. I was so into the book, loved it. Then I saw the movie, and yeah, the movie isn't the best adaptation. It's not the best movie, period. So I walked away from it not wanting to jump back into my audiobook, which was such a big bummer. But thankfully, I did go back to it while I was running. And I think it's a fantastic book. But also, performance-wise, I do think the narrator, David Patu, was phenomenal. I mean, really in audiobooks across the board, that always wows me because there's always such a great range of characters. And to see one narrator or to hear one narrator be able to capture so many of them is really outstanding. And performance-wise also, big round of applause to Will Patton. any Will Patton narrated Stephen King book is well worth a listen. I think he is phenomenal. Really, I would love to sit down. Will Patton has a whole bunch of great acting credits on the screen to his name as well, but I would love to sit down with him and just talk about narrating so many of these Stephen King books, because it just so happens that I have listened to a lot recently that he narrated. Many of you out there recommended that I listen to The Outsider, which, yes, that was friggin' fantastic. And that has led me to put Mr. Mercedes on my queue because I'm such a big fan of Holly as a Stephen King character. I want more of her. And I also love the first season of Mr. Mercedes. I have to go back and watch the more recent episodes, but I loved her character in that. And of course, I love Brendan Gleeson too. So Mr. Mercedes has been on my list for a little while, but there's also The Long Walk. The Long Walk was a great, great read. That's something that's being adapted to film. So Ian, if you're like me and you are attracted to books that you know are going to be adapted, I would highly recommend The Long Walk. The Institute, Stephen King's most recent release, excellent, excellent stuff. I love that one as well. What else do I have here? Oh, I have to point this out because you guys know next weekend is the marathon, and I've been thinking a lot about what I'm going to listen to while I run. And initially what I thought I was going to do is, all of my training has been audiobooks. It has helped me a little bit to run, admittedly, in circles on a high school track and kind of lose myself in an audiobook. It makes the time fly by. But I didn't want to take that approach to the actual marathon because I did want to be a little more present. But the other day I did attempt to run to music again, and it threw me off a little. I think I've done such a significant amount of the training with an audiobook that I have to stick with that. The thing is, though, I want the ability to kind of tune in and out. When I'm struggling, I want to be able to really lock into that book, get caught up in what's happening. But, let's say I see my family waving at me. I want to be able to tune out, run over to them, and not worry about missing something. So I am queuing up a book that I have listened to before. It is Dr. Sleep. I have started re-listening to it for some of my short runs so that by the time the marathon comes up next Sunday, I'm in like the thick of the really intense stuff. So that is my plan. I'm going to listen to Dr. Sleep while I run my marathon, another Will Patton narrated Stephen King novel. So that's it. That's our list for this Q&A video. A huge thank you to all you guys for sending in these great, thoughtful questions. Stephen, Evan, Luke, Billy, and Ian. I tell you guys this all the time, but it's well worth repeating. Your support means the world to me. So does the thought you put into these questions. I love G-chatting with you guys. So really, thank you so much for being part of the team. And if anybody else out there wants to join, that link is back on the screen right below there. Check it on out. A lot of good stuff over there. Huge thanks to all of you for watching this video. Please do not leave it without liking and sharing, and I'll have another Q&A video for you real soon.